Hi everyone, Amma here, and in this video we're going to learn how to decipher a pattern. For today I'm going to be using the simplicity pattern 0873 or 1819, which would be considered the plus size patterns. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to be referencing two pattern pieces, and the first one's going to be pattern piece 24 or the bolero back for views A and B. And the pattern is pretty self-explanatory in itself. I mean, right here on the pattern we see that it says cut 1 on fold of fabric and also cut 1 on fold of lining. But I will show you exactly what it means when it says cut 1 on fold. When a pattern tells you to cut on the fold, it literally means this symbol here where it says center fold. And it's basically folding your fabric in half and you're placing your pattern right there on the fold. So that way when you cut it out, you open it up and it is one solid piece. Another part of your pattern that you'll see on almost everyone that you ever work with will be your notches. Now it's extremely important that you cut out every single notch when you're cutting your fabric, because when you start placing your patterns together, you'll want to match up the notches, and this keeps everything nice and even. Notches are not only singular, sometimes they come in doubles, like in this picture, or even triples. Just because it's a triple or double or singular notch doesn't mean it's really different. You just want to make sure that you match your notches up with the same number. So, singular notches get paired up with singular notches, doubles with doubles, and triples with triples. Now this pattern piece has a very unique part to it, which would be the placement line for trim in view A. Now what you want to do is after you cut out your fabric, you want to make sure that you draw this line out with the fabric pencil, so that way when you go to finish your product that you have a reference for placing your trim. Now I'm going to move on to piece 15, the apron side for views A and B. Notice on here that it says cut 2, but it doesn't say that you need to cut it on a fold. So that means that you're going to have two separate pieces after you're done cutting your fabric. Now before I explain the pleats here on the right, I want to talk about this line that's going up and down the pattern. This is your grain line. Pretty much what you want to do is when you're cutting your fabric, you want to make sure that this line is parallel with the salvaged edge of your fabric. Now you're probably wondering, why in the world do I want to care about the grain line? What difference will it make in my cosplay? Well, it can make the world of difference because it can determine how your fabric drapes at the end of your project. Now let's talk about those pleats. Pleats can be a little hard and complicated, and it takes a lot of time and practice to get them down, but the more you do it, the more you'll be better at them. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to explain how to do a pleat. The directions that come with your pattern should go step by step on how to do them. However, I do want to mention that after you cut your fabric out, you do want to pencil in the lines so you have references for when you do make your pleats. Last, but certainly not least, I want to talk about the dart. Darts, like pleats, are very hard to master, but the more and more you do it, the better you'll become. Darts are a little special because they include dots and lines. So when you go to mark your fabric, you want to make sure that you mark the dots and the lines corresponding to the size that you're making. Be sure to pay attention to this part of your directions. Do you notice anything? The grain lines and the center folds are depicted in the pictures above. Use this as a guide for when you plan to put your patterns on your fabric. Don't be afraid to make some modifications. Start off simple, such as adding or subtracting from your pattern piece. Sometimes you may be bigger or smaller than what's provided. When in doubt, mark it. Use a fabric pencil so that way if you don't need the marking, that you can wash it away later without harming your fabric.